Hello and welcome again to another edition of WrestleTalkShow. I'm your host Joshua Zimmerman, and here we are as promised with the follow-up to current events as well as uh, a couple of different things I need to get off my chest. But as you all know, the people that follow us, again, thank you to our YouTube and Facebook following as always. Um, we appreciate your consistency. We appreciate the views. We hope more and more of you are become encouraged and see some of our videos. And if you don't, again, at any time, if you don't agree with anything, I'd love to hear the feedback because I will post it. It won't. This will not be one-sided. Um, I'm up for a heated debate with someone that wants to call in, anything like that. We air emails on here once we get a more consistent and higher following. I imagine we'll get a little more of that. Moving right into the ratings that we promised you in the last episode that we would get, we have gotten Monday nights, like, ooh, wrong page. Uh, Monday night, this past Monday Night Raw, 10-11, scored a 2.9 viewership rating, and that's actually quite good when you consider that football will always beat it. Um, because there was a time, maybe, again, not to go nostalgic here, but maybe 10, 15 years ago, where maybe football and wrestling might have gone hand in hand because the stories were ones you didn't want to miss. Now there's more story in football. You want to see what Brett Favre's going to do. You want to see what Randy Moss is going to do. You want to watch it all unfold. So when you see Monday Night Football score in excess of an 18 point whatever, and professional wrestling score a 2.9, it's actually quite good. It kind of means that there was a lot of channel flipping, and you can pretty much say that the following that's been there over the last month stayed with the program because people do want to see what happens with the John Cena and Nexus scenario. I personally can't wait for him to take out Wade Barrett, but that's just me. Before we get into this, I'm going to propose a question that is also one of the things I wanted to get off my chest. I seen the first hype commercial for Turning Point on, I believe, I could be wrong, want to say November 7th, but I might be wrong about that. I'm going to confirm it. For some reason I'm drawing a blank now, but November 7th is the first date that came to mind. I just seen it not a half hour ago. Question with that. Jeff Hardy's on the bill, and they're hyping him in the event. I'm sorry, he has felony drug charge court on October 25th. TNA, what are you going to do if this don't work out? What are you going to do if Jeff Hardy goes to jail? But this is TNA we're talking about. Are you going to refund people that buy the pay-per-view in advance? Since you've molded Jeff Hardy as that you want to turn him heel, or is that the way it's going to work? If Jeff Hardy goes to jail, you just give everybody who wanted to see Jeff Hardy their money back? Yeah, that's a little confusing, but maybe they know something we don't, but I doubt it. Moving on, SmackDown for last Friday night, the second episode on Sci-Fi, and my only argument with that is, why is professional wrestling on Science television? Come on. You mean to tell me USA is the only one that will cover this, and SmackDown isn't in the ratings game? The ratings from Raw to SmackDown don't compare, so USA probably wouldn't carry SmackDown as well. But you know, like we said in previous vidcasts, Sci-Fi and USA are both owned by Universal, so you might see some crossover. I don't know. I don't like the fact that professional wrestling is on science fiction. Something doesn't match with that department, that category, whatever you want to call it. Uh, TNA Impact on 10/7 scored a 1.3. Reaction again. I'm just going over some of these. I might have already gone over, and you might already have, but I just wanted to make sure they were done. Reaction got a .7. Surprise. Uh, Superstars got a .65. And here we go into our TNA thing. Uh, First, we wanted to come out and apologize. I believe we might have touched on it, but we didn't know. Nobody seemed to know enough about it until they were revealed. Uh, well, everything that happened with him Bound for Glory, there were problems with Bound for Glory, but there was some good that came out of Bound for Glory. And no, Hulk Hogan was not one of them. JWoww winds up being a spoof. She's with somebody else. This is how much I do not care about this program, because I think it could be so much better, and it chooses not to be. Just because Dixie's got herself a management team that insists on pumping sunshine up her ass, and I don't think that she actually has a perspective of how bad her program has gotten. I would legitimately buy that if the Carters came out and said, you know, we're pulling the plug and you didn't cut it, and then in a reaction, how convenient, that could be on Reaction right after they fired Dixie Carter. She could be on Reaction. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if she doesn't really see the impact of what's going on, how she had such a strong product and now she's more or less being told what to believe, more or less, in regards to wrestling. And it's actually kind of a shame, because it's strictly an agenda for Vince Russo and Eric Bischoff to do their thing. But that's just me. But moving on with that, JWoww is part of a group that she is a Shore character, but it's not allowed to be the Shore, and it's more or less a spoof on the program, more or less a comedy piece. We all thought the Shore was gonna be a wrestler or a gimmick or something like that, and it wasn't. So yeah, I don't even know. Like, I put that in the run sheet for tonight, and I don't know if it's possible to feel bad for when you write something down, but this didn't even seem newsworthy. It just seemed like it had to be put out there because they had hyped it up. You hype wrestlers, not comedy segments, by the way. Like I said, they were showcased at Bound for Glory, where they did not get a positive fan reaction. As a matter of fact, they got a negative fan reaction. Nobody liked them. You suck. This is boring. All the different kinds of chants you can imagine. They were used. Thus is a typical TNA event. Another thing that kind of goes back to the turning point thing, that where I theorize, like, I'll probably wind up being completely wrong on this one too, but they made Jeff Hardy the TNA champion, and he's a member of them. He's part of them. Again, what if Court doesn't go right? I don't know. It doesn't here's the best word for it. It doesn't make any sense. And I can't even get angry about it anymore because it legitimately doesn't make sense. If this guy doesn't, if things don't go the way this guy hopes it'll go, he's going away to jail. And it's not even being addressed. They're talking about using, as part of his heel turn, using the actual drug charges, which leads me to believe that they might know a little more than we do if they're placing him in the card for the next pay-per-view. And I even understand pre-taping, but what? Turning Point's going to come out and Jeff Hardy will have done a week and a half in jail at that point? Worst case. Best case, he beats everything, which I hope. I guess this is just something we're going to have to wait and see. Moving on to the Linda McMahon and Blumenthal Connecticut Senate race. Excuse me. Connecticut Senate race. In a recent debate, Blumenthal attacked Linda McMahon's WWE record and cited the death clause in the wrestler contracts, as well as the fact that since she started running for Senate last year, or however long ago that was, there have been 7 wrestler deaths. Now, most of them not active, but 7 wrestler deaths. And then and she's actually got a point here. She kind of came back at that and saying he wants to keep attacking WWE and doesn't want to talk about anything that Connecticut needs. And in a nutshell, mind you, for all you buffs, you can get the actual wording off TMZ or whatever you grab. She's actually got a point in my opinion here. I noticed in the debate that I posted last week, he doesn't really attack her political approach. He attacks her relationship to professional wrestling. Now maybe will that be her downfall? Probably, because Wade Keller of PW Torch made a good point tonight in his podcast when he said Bret Hart made it big because Bret Hart wasn't in an era where it was sex sells, comedy sells, all that happy stuff, all the stuff that Linda is now being criticized for that WWE did. They had a star like Bret Hart, and he was all about excellence, and I quote, excellence in execution and being a technical wrestler. The ground moves are what made his match interesting. It wasn't the high flying. It wasn't the beat downs. It was how long can this back and forth dance go? And hey, this is pretty freaking cool. So you gotta wonder if WWE wouldn't have strayed away going back 10, 15 years ago, if they wouldn't have strayed off of that angle and decided that sex sells and comedy is what people want in their wrestling and wrestling is what people want in their comedy. Whether or not Blumenthal would have a leg to stand on today, because if they would have stuck to the traditional pattern that made Bret Hart famous, I think it's safe to say that it wouldn't have happened. Also, moving on from there, TNA had its drug test last week. Yeah, wrestlers failed. You want to know how many reprimands? 0. How many terminations? 0. How many names made public? 0, obviously. But seriously, TNA, you cite a wellness policy? It's non-existent if you don't punish the wrestlers for taking the drugs. I feel better. Until next time, feel free to always visit us on WrestleTalkShow.webs.com, our Facebook page, our YouTube page, youtube.com/CWE Company, CWECompany@gmail.com for all your wrestling related news or discussions. And until next time, next episode tomorrow night, have a great night.